Hey, welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you, and thanks for checking out the channel on this idle Sunday here. Your Miami Dolphins cannot hurt you on this Sunday because they hurt you on Thursday. And then on Friday, the owner decided, you know what? Ready to move on from Chris Grier, which was, to me, a little bit of a surprise. I just thought the guy was never going to leave. But here's the thing that has stayed the same. It has me a little bit worried, concerned, and I actually find it strange how many people seem to be okay with it. I was a little bit miffed by it because I just had an innocuous thing that I tweeted out when it happened because a lot of people were starting to say, oh, Mike McDaniel's going to finish out the year. Mike McDaniel. Well, now we're starting to get the more details as things come back. Mike McDaniel, he may be the guy that Stephen Ross believes in. He may be the guy that they want. They have faith in him. They've invested in him. And I think what happens is maybe people are younger, they don't remember. And not everything is this, not every situation is the same, but there is a pattern. And I'm just a little concerned that he is getting set once again to go find himself some new talent evaluator to stick next to Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel, of course, doesn't want to lose his job, so he's going to go along for the ride and say, yeah, of course, baby, I'll work with whatever. Bring me that Harvard guy from Philadelphia. Bring me Alonzo Heisman. Bring me whoever. Bring me Mike Greenberg from Tampa Bay. He'll stick it out. And, that's going to be their new dynamic duo. Mike McDaniel, he's got the coaching ability. But I don't know, man. I'm concerned about it. Ian Rappaport, he said sources say that the fourth-year head coach, 30-30 during his tenure, is staying for this foreseeable future with hopes that he continues to coach through 2025 and beyond. And this has been the case for months. We've heard this through all of this. Mike McDaniel, the owner, did not want to fire him. Obviously, we got to a point where some change needed to be made, and I'm not here to say that Chris Grier got the raw end of the deal because certainly he has ridden this wave long enough. And now you have this Champ Kelly who's going to get this opportunity to make some trades. There's a lot of fodder out there about who they're going to go and deal and where they're going to go and deal. And, the pass rushers have obviously been in the fold for a while. Jalen Phillips, there's talk that Vic Fangio is salivating over getting him to Philadelphia, which we're going to love watching Jalen Phillips go to Philadelphia, I'm sure, and just terrorize quarterbacks left and right on that defensive line. But, Mike McDaniel might be a very nice man. In fact, I would venture to guess he is a very nice man. Seems very likable, I think personable, and I think that a lot of those things are great. A lot of those things, though, are things that people said about Chris Grier as well. And while Mike McDaniel may be brilliant and creative and smart, dude, went to Yale. I'm sure as hell that the guy is very, very intelligent. There are some things here that, as creative as he may be, and all of that are concerning. We've seen issues with his play calling. We've seen issues with him being able to commit to the run game. We've seen issues with him being able to have any type of success without Tua Tagovailoa. We've seen even more issues of him being able to have success without Tua and or Tyreek Hill. And I say all this just to be like, are we sure that this guy definitely has the goods to do this? Because this has been a team that has lacked discipline, toughness, and accountability under his watch. And those things can't be debated. The team has crumbled this year. One of the things that has been awful about this year, and I think is the biggest indictment on the coach, and somehow he skated on all of this because the quarterback's been so awful and it's been built up by a terrible general manager that you can, kind of duck and cover on the blame and you could kind of survive all of this. But the things that are under his watch about how the team is running as an organization, how he leads, how he gets everybody on the same page. While, yeah, the team maybe hasn't quit on him per se, which is nice. They play hard. They don't play disciplined. They're not a tough football team. And I do wonder, and it's mostly been a divided team because he's mostly the offensive guy and his defensive guy, whether it be Fangs, Weaver, or the dude who was here the first year. The what the hell was that guy's name? With the terrible defense in San Diego? Boyer. Whoever it is, like, I don't know. Like, has he really shown an ability to run an organization from top to bottom? He has one really great accomplishment, which is like Tua Tagovailoa with a palatable running game and an offensive line that was definitely not even as shambles as this, and the best wide receiver on the planet. Yeah, they put up some big numbers, but as games got tougher and you took on real competition, like, none of these flaws have gone away. Like, how many games has Mike McDaniel won that you were just like, man, he really got him there. Like, he got a team that nobody thought he should beat, and he beat him. Like, he doesn't have a ton of those on his resume. You know, maybe like the first couple of weeks where they're riding high and they beat the Ravens and the Bills, like when he first took over, when he probably had his most stacked team. Maybe. But how many recently? How many of the last couple of years, the last 3 years, when things were getting tough, when those questions were there? How many has he really been able to show? And I understand the argument of, hey, there's not a lot of great candidates out there on this job. I think that's probably maybe the best case for him to keep his job. If he's a creative guy, he has a better talent evaluator. You know that he can scheme some things up. You know that he can make some things happen. Okay, fine. But is it really the best recipe for success for a guy whose record continues to go down, for his wins that he's expected to get done continue to go down? The quarterback's production continues to go down, and that was his calling card. All of that stuff happens on top of star players have called him out. Star players have stopped listening to him. There's been accountability issues of people showing up on time, different rules for different folks on the team, and an inconsistency and reportedly inconsistencies on how he handles those things, and only seems to be an issue when they lose, which doesn't go very well in the eyes of the players. You're going to stick another GM with that, and then what's going to happen? Eventually you'll give him a couple of years, and then the GM gets to fire him, and then the GM going to bring, like, you wouldn't want to bring in a GM who can point to whoever that coach is and say, that's our guy. That's the guy we should go with to run this organization. I don't know. I say this, I don't know who that person is, but I don't think that he's done a job. Like, as bad as Chris Grier has been at his job and as bad as his quarterback has been, I don't think that he's done a good job either. You know, I don't feel like Mike McDaniel has been shackled here and gets to skate free on all of this. And I just think that Stephen Ross has had a problem. There's a really good article by Omar Kelly, and he's talked about this on Game Day Uncensored about, you know, Stephen Ross really hates the hiring process. And I do think that there is truth to that. Like, he just never likes to be left on an island completely bare and unknown about where to go in all of this, right? And anytime he's really tried to go get the established guy, unfortunately, it blows up in his face Wile E. Coyote style. And I guess that leaves him a little skittish about leaving the cupboard bare. But trust me when I tell you, this is a time that I don't think calls for having any familiar faces. You want keep Garfinkel, keep Dan Marino around, you know, and try and go from there. But I don't know. I don't think it's a recipe for success at all. And then there's this other report. Rappaport had a really interesting dive on this, and it really feels like Mike McDaniel has won the complete power struggle on all this, because there's talks in this article about he's got the green light basically to bench Tua whenever. They're probably going to move on from Tua after this year. Like, I know people are worried about that salary, but look, it has been done before, and especially if they wanted to go in a direction where it was a complete nuke job for the next 2 years and then he gets to keep it around. And it's just like, all right, so let me get this straight. This guy whose record is completely plummeted, and then he gets to oversee another tank and get another chance to prove himself as a head coach. And I get it. He came in a weird situation. Okay. Team had a winning record. They made a monster trade for superstars. Didn't have a lot of draft capital after that because either tampering or trades. But now he gets to go on the merry-go-round of the cycle again. Like, okay, but you've already seen, like, he can't seem to establish a winning culture. It has eluded him his time here. Like, player friendly in some regards, nice with the media, quirky. I don't know, man. I don't think that is the way to go on this. And this is not to say Mike McDaniel won't land on his feet somewhere and be a good offensive coordinator and, maybe refurbish his place. I just don't think that place is here. I think the damage is done. I think that too many people have had their hands in detonating this, and to just say, Mike, you did what you could with Tua. Mike, you had to deal with Chris Grier. It's like, well, Chris Grier has said he's mostly catering to what the coach wants. So I don't think that's going anywhere, and the type of players that he wants. He had this false sense that he could handle stars. He very clearly could not without them taking advantage of him. And all of a sudden, we're going to act like, oh, man, he can quarterback somebody who's not Tua Tagovailoa? Who? Where is that proof? A couple of Teddy Bridgewater games? He couldn't do it with Skylar Thompson. He couldn't do it with any of these guys at Snoop, Tyler Huntley, that's the same person, Tim Boyle. These are all terrible picks. And then on top of it, he's like, oh, I'm going to pick Zach Wilson. And he's already demoted Zach Wilson at one point this year. So, how are you to trust what this guy can do when it comes to really not only developing and establishing and maintaining a winning culture, but now you want him to start from scraps with a young GM. Dude, I don't know about that one, man. I don't know. I something about that makes me like Joe Philbin queasy, dude. It makes me a little bit squish to think that this organization is in his hands. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't think that is. I don't think that is the route you should go here, man. So we'll see what's going to happen with these next few days. The fodder that's out there right now is they're putting a lot of Jalen Waddle stuff in the ether, which makes you seem like, hey, the Dolphins are like, hey, come at us, big boy. What do you got for us for Jalen Waddle? Give us a 1 plus a 2, a 1 and a 3. What do you want to do to get Jalen Waddle into the fold here? It's like, we'll see what goes on there. Pass rushers are obviously going to be doing, but if they really want to blow this thing to smithereens, just start over. Do they have another Laramie Tunsil in their mind? Do they have let's trade Patrick Paul for 3 first-round picks? Is there a possibility that they go that route, or is it just like, hey, he's too good of a monster. Good tackles can play forever. You got to keep him. I think I'd probably just lean that way because you're going to probably get enough picks and you can make some things happen. But this whole thing set up between whoever comes in as GM, you look at it and you're like, all right, who are the go-to guys on this team? Who are the building blocks? It's right now, it's not Tua. Jalen Waddle qualifies, but it is a receiver. And I think if you look at this team, you're probably like, well, it's Patrick Paul and it's Devon Achane. And that's probably the list right now. Chop Robinson hasn't exactly blossomed this second year. The other old guys are going to be gone. Minkah Fitzpatrick, I can't imagine wants to be here for. Guy tried to escape the last time out of a rebuild. You think he wants to be here? No. Zach Sealer. Zach Sealer is obviously had a very poor year, whatever the circumstances are. I think accountability-wise, they would probably like to keep a guy like him around just because he just is a pro's pro, good locker room presence. So unless your socks are knocked off by him, but I just look, best of luck to this Champ Kelly fella. All right. I hope that, he is able to haul in some big assets or decent assets for what Miami's got in the cupboard. But which he reportedly didn't get to do when he was in with the Raiders when he got this chance because it was after the deadline. So it's gonna be an interesting 72 hours for him for sure. But this idea that we're leaning towards keeping Mike around, I don't know. I'm very uneasy about it. Very, very uneasy about it. I get it. You keep him around for the rest of the year, fine. I don't love it, but fine. Because I think you got to send some type of message. And to me, right now, the message was the easiest thing to do. The guy who was worst at his job and has been here forever, you finally got rid of. And so maybe you think this is addition by subtraction. I'm not here to say that that can't happen, but it is a little bit too familiar with the past half cleanings of the house. When you got to clean the house, you can't leave one room dirty. You got to wipe that sucker clean completely. And it does not feel like the immediate aftermath of Grier's parting is that they're going to do that.